Okay, golfers, I want to talk a little bit about the role of the trail arm and how it moves around in your golf swing. And I think there's a common belief that if you can't externally rotate or you don't have a ton of flexibility or mobility in your trail arm, that you can't shallow out your swing, that you're steep, and that you're going to be doomed forever. And I don't think that's true. I think there's exceptions all over the place. So what am I really referring to when I talk about this move? Well, I'm not talking about how much I can move this arm behind me. I'm more so referring to the angle or the line that is this bone between my wrist and my elbow. And so if I have that bone or that angle very horizontal, well, that's called internal shoulder rotation. Think about it like I'm winning an arm wrestling battle, okay? Now, on the flip side, I can take that angle or that line and I can get it more vertical. And this is called external rotation. So the line now between my wrist and my elbow is very vertical. Well, that is called external rotation, and that is losing the arm wrestling battle. And so again, there's this common belief that if you don't have that flexibility, that the shaft will always be steep and you'll always be bad at golf. And I don't think that's true. But first we need to understand what both of those arm movements do to the golf club. And so if I had my arm in a pretty neutral position and all of a sudden I started to internally rotate it, well, you can see as that line between my wrist and my elbow gets more horizontal, the golf club actually gets more vertical. So this is what people would call a steep position. And from here, it's hard to play really good golf because the club is sort of programmed to work very outside in on the ball. You're going to hit a lot of pulls and a lot of slices. And so what people will often say is, oh, you have to have this trail shoulder working more externally so that, again, that line between my wrist and my elbow gets more vertical. And so what that does is that actually shallows the golf club. So you can see the club head itself works further behind me, and now I'm able to swing straighter into the ball. But that's not the only thing that can shallow the golf club. And so I want you to assume you're the player with that limited mobility in the shoulder, and that there's just no way, unless you go see a physical therapist 10 times a month, that you're ever going to have that much mobility in the shoulder. You're not doomed. We can still find a way to shallow the club. And one of the ways to do it is actually through wrist angles. So if I go up to the top and all of a sudden I have this internally rotated severely trail arm because I don't have the mobility in my shoulder to do this, well, obviously the golf club is in a pretty vertical position here, okay? But if I took my wrists and I added flexion and ulnar deviation, meaning that the angle between my lead arm and the club got less narrow but instead wider, well, all of a sudden, as I flex the lead wrist and add some of that ulnar deviation, even with that trail elbow or trail arm very horizontal or very internally rotated, I can still get that golf club in a very good spot on the way down. It might not be my favorite matchup. However, if you're someone who struggles with the limited mobility in that arm, it's a great option for you to explore if you want the golf club to come down on a relatively shallow plane. So if you have limited flexibility in that shoulder, you're not doomed. You just need to explore your options. Try this one out. Thanks for watching.